Welcome to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast. My name is Audrey Monkey, and I am your host. For more than 3 decades, I've been a summer camp director, and I've had the privilege of working with thousands of children, teenagers, young adult counselors, and parents. I really enjoy sharing stories, tips, and ideas to help others who care about young people raise a generation of kind, self-reliant, optimistic kids who become thriving adults. If you're interested in summer camp, parenting, or happiness, you've come to the right place. In episode 54, I'm chatting once again with my longtime friend and camp colleague, Dr. Jim Sears. I've known him as Camp Dr. Bones for the past 14 years, but he is better known by his patients at his family's pediatric practice as Dr. Jim. You might have caught our previous episode, which is episode 51, where we talked about building kids' self-esteem. In this episode, we talk about some of the benefits of camp and what we think parents can learn from summer camp to bring home some of those benefits. We touch on topics related to our kids' well-being, including positive behavior management, health tips, encouraging kids to be themselves, helping our kids gain autonomy, and unplugging. I hope you enjoy this episode.
So Audrey, one of the things in almost all your podcasts, you talk about how amazing camp is for kids, and I totally agree. I've been a camp doctor for you now for 14 years, and what I'd like to talk about is what happens when the kids come home from camp, whether it's the end of the 2 weeks or the month or even 6 or 7 weeks, some of your campers. Mm-hmm. The amazingness that happens here at camp, how can we continue that at home?
Sure. Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of ways that that parents can kind of keep up some of the practices that we do here at camp. Mm-hmm. One of them is just kind of looking at the way our counselors manage behavior with campers. And there's some really simple kind of positive behavior management things that we train our counselors in here that are really helpful in helping kids, just eliciting better behavior from them. And as we've discussed before, it's easier to work with other people's kids than your own. Yeah. But it's amazing how counselors can get kids to behave well. And one of the biggest things is just to do what we call catch kids doing something right. So we tell our counselors to find something that a child is doing well, especially with children who seem to be doing a lot of things not so well. Mm-hmm. So, for example, on the first day, if a kid's just kind of going crazy, bouncing off the walls, like not listening very well, if the child, for example, ties their shoes right when you ask them to, you say, "That was amazing how you just tied your shoes the first time I asked." And that kid, like this light bulb goes off. Oh my gosh, this person's going to notice when I do something well. I don't need to seek attention for like bad behavior. So I think that's one of the things I often say that camp counselors, just the training that they get in like the week or 10 days before camp, I wish every parent could.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That. Yeah, yes.
That would be amazing. Something you said, and I've seen this in books, kids, they're going to, if they get attention, whether it's negative attention or positive attention for a behavior, they're going to keep trying to do that. And a lot of negative behavior in kids is just deep down attention seeking. So I've often told parents, don't give any attention to some of these negative behaviors, but give the good attention to specific positive behaviors. Like you said, hey, thanks for tying your shoe the first time you asked me, as opposed to saying, thanks for obeying me. It's very vague and general and doesn't really, and then when they're not listening, that doesn't get way more attention than when they are listening. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think I like that. Like a counselor would do, hey, without a whole bunch of emotion and yelling, thanks for trying out thanks for being polite or whatever, and that's one great way.
For sure.
One of the things I've noticed when I started coming to camp is I would come home after whether it's a week or 2 weeks. I've done 3 weeks one summer up here. I would feel amazing. I would have lost maybe 10 pounds. And I thought, wow, what's different about my daily living up here versus back home? And certainly I'm quite active. I'm walking all over the place.
Right.
And I can, so even just the walking, I would try to bring that home with me. Do we live close enough to walk to the store, or walk to the post office, or or school even? My office, it's a 3-minute drive, or it's a 17-minute walk, and I when I can, if the weather permits, I just take the time and I walk, and that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
But then also, what also is different about just meal times and everything, the camp is quite structured, and I love that. And the kids, there's breakfast, and there's lunch, and there's dinner. And what isn't there? There's not sitting on the couch eating Doritos, watching TV.
In between,
there's not that kids coming into the kitchen saying they're hungry. I don't think I've ever heard a child complaining here that they're hungry.
Right.
Why? Why is that? They're too busy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids at home, they're not really hungry. They're bored.
Yep.
And they've been trained. Yeah. Same. And that's me. And I found, I don't. Even my stomach might be empty up here, and I might feel the growl, but I'm busy.
Right.
I know dinner or lunch is in an hour and a half.
Right.
And I keep paddling my canoe or something. And I think I've tried to instill that in my kids. Hey, meal times are meal times, and non-meal times are not.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think it is a healthy place at camp, and I think you can take those habits home. I love the incidental exercise thing. That's what I call it here. So when you're just walking to get from like something you're doing to something else you're doing, and you're talking with your friends, the kids here don't even notice all the exercise they're getting.
Right.
Because they're engaged, they're talking to other people. So I love, as a family, like you said, if you live close enough to walk to the park where you're going to play tennis, or to walk to the store to pick up a few items, or send your kids to walk to the store. That is such a great way to just get a little bit of exercise. The other thing my husband and I always joke about is in parking lots, how people will wait. They will wait for the spot like really close.
Right,
And I mean, unless you're disabled,
Sure.
Honestly, park in the furthest spot. Don't get door dings on your car, and you and your kids will get an extra 100 yards of exercise, and it'll be easier to get out.
Right, exactly.
So and big sporting events. That's my brother-in-law's famous thing. He would park his car facing out at the very furthest spot. Like I remember going to Lakers games back in college, and we'd have to wear our running shoes because you could get stuck in those parking lots for like an hour or more.
I hated that. Yeah.
So the game would end, and we would sprint out to the car that's in the farthest corner and get out of the parking lot before everybody.
And you're walking past all the cars sitting there in line.
Yes.
And then when you get to your car, there's no line because you're at the end. That's brilliant. Or taking the stairs.
Yeah.
Instead of the elevator to the fourth floor for the doctor's office, take the stairs. And, I think that's a huge thing. And
so kids who don't like exercise normally or who don't want to do a traditional sport, you can sneak the exercise in by just making it part of your family routine kind of thing.
Yeah, and if your kids complain at home, especially if they've just come home from camp, they just spent every day logging quite a... I don't know if I've never logged the miles here, but they've put in a couple good miles walking down the lake, walking over to archery, and walking to the arts and crafts and up to the dining porch. So they can do it. We know they can do it.
Right. Oh yeah, they totally can. Yeah. And in fact, my kids grew up here, and even as toddlers, they would walk from our home to the dining porch, and I did track it once. It's either a quarter mile. I think it's about a quarter mile. So they are walking a half mile when they were 2 or 3 years old. Yeah. Just to get breakfast. And that's just part of their day. So I think that incidental exercise and the snacking thing I think is really interesting. When we were kids, I don't know if you remember this, but we did not have snacks.
Nope.
We also didn't have water bottles. We used the drinking fountain at school. But it's so funny.
Or the hose.
The hose
in the neighbor's backyard.
Yeah, and it tasted terrible, but we just drank it anyway. Yeah, you were thirsty enough. And I do think, obviously for kids who have some kind of, if they're diabetic or they have some kind of medical need to have snacks, we accommodate that at camp. But for the most part, most of us do not need snacks. Yeah. And kids eat healthier stuff when they're waiting for the meals. Right. So if you're letting your kid eat a bag of goldfish in the afternoon and then worried, why are they not eating the chicken and the broccoli that's for dinner?
Right.
But they'll eat the chicken and broccoli if they're hungry. And so I think we actually need to feel more hunger. To me, I think like we're getting away from just kind of listening to our bodies more and just feeling like, am I hungry? And then eating. And am I full? And so we need our kids to be more like that rather than just this mindless, there's always a snack in the car, there's always a snack everywhere we go.
Sure. And there's a lot of life lessons you can really learn there. That one of them, it's okay to be hungry and be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And if I've had up here at camp, a super busy afternoon, mountain biking or something, and really burnt a lot of energy, 4 o'clock comes and I'm pretty darn hungry. And if I was at home, I'd probably go open the pantry and whatever, I'll see the Doritos or the cookies and just munch. As opposed to here, okay, well, dinner's in an hour and I'll be fine. And the kids, I think it's important for them to realize that little hunger pang is not harmful. As a matter of fact, medically, it's actually very beneficial. We know, I'm not saying children should go on a keto diet, but a lot of a lot of good things happen when your body has to tap into its fat stores as opposed to just getting that carb tank constantly filled. And I think there's actually a lot to brain health and gut health. And your body's energy and the way it processes its energy. If a child never has to dip into its fat stores because mom always has the crackers and the goldfish ready to go, the moment the child is a little bit hungry, it really can affect your overall metabolism.
Absolutely. Well, and I was also thinking as you're saying that, so we actually do keep a bowl of fruit and some healthy snacks available throughout the day in our dining area if someone needs it. And that's a good concept for home too. We offer, since we have dinner so early here, we've started for the last few years, we have an evening snack, but the snack is carrots, string cheese, apple slices. It's not just kind of, whatever. So it's like, if the child is really hungry, sure, eat. And I think that's a good concept for home. If you are, if you're at home, kids are going to want a snack. Have a fruit bowl with, we got recently cherries with a cherry pitter. I had these little kids visiting, and it was and you see 3 in 1. I mean, they're little kids. They were having so much fun pitting cherries and just eating these cherries. So those kind of snacks, if you are going to have snacks, just have like more healthier, non-Dorito.
You know what I've never seen a child do here either is, especially when the nighttime over at the campfire with where they're doing the lotions and when that's when they do get their kind of bedtime snacks if they want them. I've never seen a child go, I don't want string cheese. I don't want apple slices. No, because that's what's there, and they're hungry. And it looks good to them. When a child thinks they're hungry because they're bored. That's when those cravings for something specific like Doritos or goldfish or potato chips, that's when that kicks in and your mind starts saying, I want potato chips because I know potato chips are in mommy's pantry there. If they're not there, the body will, the mind, that's a very powerful thing, will not crave that stuff. And the string cheese or the apple slices or the pitted cherries will look amazing and will satisfy the hunger. So I just tell parents, they just don't have it. Just really chips and cookies. I think of those as birthday party foods. At the birthday party, go nuts. Have as much as you want and come home with a stomach ache, and you'll kind of learn. But at home, your fruit bowl. We do a little bowl of walnuts. Great. Now, I don't like walnuts, but when I'm hungry and I see, I'll take a handful, and just 1 or 2 walnuts will satisfy. They get the crunch and the taste and the flavor, and after a couple walnuts, you're not hungry anymore. After a couple Doritos, you're more hungry. You're
going to want to eat the whole bag. I keep almonds in my car for myself. And so if my kid gets in the car and they're super hungry and whatever, I'm like, well, I have these almonds. And you know what? If they decide they don't want them, then they're not that hungry. It's like, it can't be that much. When I think this kind of segues nicely into something that I heard from a junior counselor that really struck me. He was talking about how he used to really not like salad or vegetables before he started coming to camp. But seeing all the counselors eating kind of healthier lifestyle foods here, changed his whole eating habits. And he says, he was talking about how his older brother, who wasn't a camper, is in college living on like top ramen, and how he has learned to make better food choices for himself.
Yeah.
So I think that's another kind of lesson that we can take from camp, is that our kids need sort of to be around other people besides us. There might be resistance at home to eating broccoli or salad or trying new foods. But if you get your kids into other environments or with other adults, especially ones who seem cool to them, like are a couple of years older, that's something that I think can really benefit your kids, because you might have been battling with your kids over vegetables for years at home, not getting them to eat it, or they're so picky or they won't eat it. But it is amazing what kids will do when they have positive models outside the family.
Right. Yeah. And we have an aunt for our 12-year-old. She plays with her cousins a lot, and Aunt Jen, when Callie goes over there, whatever Aunt Jen is doing is what is cool, and is what is she going to want to do. So, and when her kids come over to our house and they see us eating the broccoli or whatever, and they're way more like you. So, kind of we set that up in advance. Hey, Jen, make sure you eat good when Callie comes over, and we'll eat good when your kids come over.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it becomes so much easier.
Oh my gosh, I have a good story about that. My 17-year-old son, who's a junior counselor this summer, so in our home we've actually cleared out all the junk. But the kids, like if they're having friends over, we'll get a few things. We're not like that super strict, but my husband's completely paleo, like really, he makes us really good foods, whole foods and everything. And our kids, our two teenage sons, they're always like, is this paleo? Which is like, whatever it is, spaghetti squash with, tomato sauce or meatballs or whatever. So it's been kind of a funny thing at home that they're very resistant to wanting to eat the way we do. They do, because that's what's for dinner, but they just kind of are negative about it. Well, my son comes up to me and tells me this summer that he and several of the counselors are eating whole foods. And I
what I've been trying to do for the last 2 years?
Yeah, but I was laughing because I just go, that's great. I'm not going to, whatever, that is great. And that's a perfect example of, he's now looking to these slightly older guys who he really looks up to. They're 19, 20, and they're all eating more salad, not having desserts, and trying to be healthier. And he's doing it with them. And I just was like, this is great. And this is a perfect example of the best intentions of parents. Yeah. You can get nowhere with your kids, where sometimes another mentor or adult can make really big strides.
Yeah, that's so perfect. And something to take that even further, one of the things I love about camp, and it is an artificial environment. So it's, you show up and breakfast is ready. Yeah. You show up and lunch is ready, and then whenever I'd go home after 2 weeks up here, I go, well, wouldn't it be great if we had a kitchen staff that would make these things? But you can kind of do that via Trader Joe's. We have the pre-done salads and the pre-done. We just had, I think it's some sort of zucchini
noodles,
noodles, or the carrot noodles, and then the frozen meat sauce. Literally, just those items right there is a very easy, very healthy meal that you can make it in a snap. And we kind of have stocked up on that, and so you get home, you're tired, and you kind of go, wouldn't it be great? And you go, well, yeah, it is. It's kind of ready to go. So we've done that a lot.
Yeah, that's really good. So let's see. Other things from camp.
I like the being messy. Allowing kids to be messy.
Right.
Our daughter, she likes to dress just independent. But every time Mom will go, wait a minute, that outfit doesn't match. Go back and change. Make sure you comb your hair. Our daughter literally would roll out of bed in the clothes she was wearing yesterday and go off to school.
Right.
And that here at camp, honestly, I think that should be fine. Why not? Why not? Why does a shirt have to match your shorts? And I think at camp, it's kind of cool to be wacky. Yeah. And cool to not match and to kind of just be your own, independent and do your hair a little bit differently, and whether it's it just to allow kids to be dirty is super important in a lot of ways. But for if nothing else, just if your child wants to pick out their outfit to go to school, yeah, let them do it.
Yeah, I think that is, you really hit on something. The one of the best things about camp for kids is that They, for the first time for many of them, get to make their own choices and decisions about a lot of things. And they're not getting as micromanaged with all the details of their existence, you know. So while counselors are going to remind them about putting sunscreen on and taking showers, the counselor is not going to, like, you know, comb out their hair perfectly for them, or do some of the things that maybe you get into these habits as a parent. And I think when they're your own kids, you still think of them as littler than they are, you know, because you've had them since, you know, with you, obviously, since they were a baby. And so you sometimes continue treating them and doing things for them as if they were younger than they are. Yeah. But when they get to camp, counselors here really have appropriate expectations. And so our very youngest kids, who are 6 and 7, they do braid their hair and comb it out and help them with a lot more of those kind of personal hygiene things. Yeah. But then as they get older, the counselors aren't as involved. It's like this progression of more and more self-care, self-responsibility. And oftentimes I think that one of the reasons that parents will say kids come home from camp just looking so much more mature and feeling so much more confident and independent is because they've had this opportunity to do things and have that sense of, I did do this. I didn't need my mom or dad to help me with this. I did this all by myself. And that's such a great feeling. I mean, even as an adult, when you overcome something or you learn how to do something, even like something technological, like when I figure out how to do something on my blog and I have to research it and I watch some YouTube videos and it finally works. Yeah, right. You feel good. Like I figured this out by myself. Right. And camp and other experiences away from parents are sometimes the only time our kids have that opportunity to get that sense of accomplishment, because it's so hard for parents not to step in. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time I sent my daughter up here, I wish I could remember how old she was. She was quite young, but...
Was she like 9 or 10? Was it 14 years ago?
Yeah, I guess it would have been.
Okay. So she was probably like 9 or 10. Yeah.
Good thing somebody can do math.
Yeah.
So she was. Her birthday is in November, so I'm thinking she was 9. But you know, and I know kids come here younger than that. But for me, I was your typical very worried parent. Oh my gosh, she's never been away from us for more than you know, an overnight. How's she going to be? I don't even remember what my point was now. Oh, not thinking she can handle it, you know, and being worried that I need to rescue her. Now, you guys do this amazing thing where you put pictures of the kids up, and that very next day, she's been up here a day, and I see her massive smile. She's, you know, piloting a kayak, and then with her cabin mates, and just smiles. And I thought, okay, good. Yeah, she's good, right? And, you know, there was times over the years that she was maybe a little homesick or a little tummy ache, and you want to just... she's 350 miles away, and you can't rescue her, but allowing her to kind of go, hey, I can do this. I can handle a little tummy ache without mom or dad right there, and you know, the nurses here and the counselors do an amazing job, you know, with comforting the kids when they need it. But I've really noticed over the years, my daughter, those times happening less and less, and just a few days ago, I got a call from her. She's out of college, living in Orlando, working full time and all that, but she had some back spasms, and I wanted to fly 3,000 miles to Orlando. But, you know, knowing, okay, she's been through these little tribulations before, and she will do just fine. And she was more calling me because I'm a doctor, and she needed to know. And,
what to do.
Not really as a parent. And having the years of up here, her learning how to deal with little discomforts without the parent being right there, I think has been huge for her.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it's funny, even when you give that example, I was thinking about how if a kid's at school and they have a stomach ache, the nurse calls and you come and pick them up. Right. It's just kind of part of the setup. And that is one of the things that I think camp provides, is even in discomfort, they're safe, they're taken care of, but you're not right there rescuing them. And so the kid will even say at the end of camp, I've heard so many of them say this, wow, I was really homesick, but I did it, and now I feel so good, and I want to come back. And they have such a sense of accomplishment, but it's very difficult as a parent to not jump in and not want to just jump in your car, because that is it's the natural reaction. You are, you want to take care of your child and save them from any kind of discomfort. And it's really only when they're far away from you where you can't do it that they really have that opportunity. And I think, like, when you think about your daughter went all the way across the country for college, my kids have ended up doing kind of like a lot of trips far away. I have one daughter who's doing an internship in DC right now, which is on the other side of the country. And I tell people a lot, like, when I'm dropping them at the airport to go on these things, in my mind, I'm like, why did I help them be so independent? Because it's hard. As a parent, you sort of, there's this, you're drawn to, like, there's nothing better to me than, like, on over a holiday when all my children are home for a night from all their various places. I love that feeling of having everyone close, but to serve our children well, we need to allow them, when they're young, small opportunities for independence like camp. As they get older, longer things. If they, for college, we don't want our children feeling like they're not capable of going away to college.
Right, yeah.
Which, unfortunately, a lot of kids do feel now, because if they've been home for these 18 years and their mom or dad has been doing everything for them, solving all their problems, it's really hard to think that just one day later they're going to go to college and be suddenly fine away from their parents. They need small practice opportunities, I think, younger.
Yep. I mean, whenever my kids ask, hey, can I walk the 2 blocks to the friend's house or the convenience store to buy a snack, as mom is trying to say no.
Yeah.
No, what do you mean you can't walk 2 blocks?
Right.
I always, before mom even gets a chance, sure, go ahead.
Yep.
Because I knew that was sort of the best times of my childhood, walking a few blocks from and meeting the friends or whatever, knowing I could do it. Is because if if your kids are, for the 18 years of their life, have been told, no, you can't X, Y, or Z. You can't walk across the street. You can't now if it's a busy street, sure.
Right.
But if you can't walk a half a block away or 2 blocks away, depending on their age, or you can't do this or that, the kids will believe it. And even if if the kids start by learning, hey, I can walk, and now sometimes I would shadow them but they would make sure but for me it was an example or an exercise of them figuring out they can do this.
Yeah.
And doing that, and then eventually going off to college and eventually having a career. But I really hate to see in the office, this just happened in my office just a week ago. I think the child was 10, and there was a couple siblings in the room, and one of the child had to go to the bathroom. Which the bathroom in our office is just a few steps away.
Right.
And Mom, I get she started wiggling, and the mom, she said, okay, go ahead, because I feel this is a safe area. And at first you're like, okay, yeah.
Right.
But I was like, oh my gosh. And this mom is a psychologist. and what she was telling the child was actually, the entire world is not safe, but I've decided this particular one is safe, so go ahead.
Right.
And I was like, it broke my heart that just the way she said it, and I think those were her words. Yes, this is a safe area.
Right.
Statistically, 99.999% of every area is going to be a safe area. I know we worry as parents that the worst case scenario is going to happen, but it's not.
I know.
It is really not going to happen.
Right.
Even though, and I don't think it happens any more often now than it did 50 years ago. We just know about it.
It actually happens less frequently.
Yeah, right.
But because of 24-hour news and Twitter and everything else, people have this sense that these bad things are happening all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that story, and that's why I feel like this parental fear is leading to so much anxiety for parents and the kids.
Yeah, right.
Like, if you think the world is so dangerous and you're just going everywhere thinking that, you're under attack, it's a really sad way to go through life.
Sure.
But I do think a lot of parents are like that. I don't think many of the parents who send their kids to camp are like that, honestly, because I feel like we get people who want this kind of experience for their kids and who will let their kids go away for a couple weeks and just be dirty and in the outdoors and with friends and not have phones and phone calls. I think we get kind of a unique set of parents that are much more willing to let their kids take just appropriate risks and independence. So I'm really thankful for that there are still camps where kids can go and they feel very safe here. In fact, when I interview kids, they'll say, I just feel so comfortable and safe here. And you know what, I mean, we have like mountain critters and like all kinds of stuff. But it is safe because they know that they're supervised or taken care of and all that. Yeah. But that it kind of breaks my heart that parents are instilling in their kids this fear-based way of going through life. And what I thought of when you were talking about walking kids places, yes, you help them the first time. Do you know the way? Let's walk together. Sure. What would you do if someone drove up to you and asked you a question? Right. What would you do? We want our kids to be discerning without being fearful. Sure. So you can tell them, you know what? Most people are really nice. Most people you can talk to. There's a few creepy people out there. If someone does this, that, or the other, go find an adult, you know, and talk to them. But it's not like everybody's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, if your child was walking 2 blocks to the convenience store and something did happen, you would want your child to feel comfortable to run to one of the other adults. Exactly. Knowing that hey, that adult was, as opposed to every single stranger is a danger. Right. You know? Now, if the guy in the van rolls by, sure, you know.
The classic thing we all learned about,
like you said, and, you know, understanding what is and isn't a risk, but knowing that, hey, if something does happen, you know, every single other adult in that area is going to be on your side and go seek help, you know, but not instilling that everything in the world is out to get you.
Sure. So I guess the final thing that we should probably talk about, just in terms of camp, which is a big thing that you and I have talked about a lot, and interestingly enough, 14 years ago it wasn't as important as it is now. Yeah. But one of the things that is extremely valuable about camp and the camp experience is the break from technology and their screens for a couple weeks. And the kids here, especially the older ones, articulate it really well. They tell me often that they really like that about camp. So ironically, people think, you know, maybe kids who haven't been to camp when they're younger don't want to go to camp when they're a teenager because they think, I can't be away from my Snapchat for 2 weeks. The kids who are here, who have had the break before, relish it. Oh, yeah. And I don't know how that translates back into the real world. The problem out in the real world is that kids don't want to feel like they're missing out on things. So the only successful formula that I think works is if, like I heard at Corona Del Mar Middle School, and now a lot of other schools are starting to have a thing where no phones at lunch. Or maybe I would prefer no phones all day. And I think at high school too. I think it should be, if you're at school and you're learning, how about the phone is off? Yeah. You know, it could be in your backpack off or stored somewhere. I think if schools could have that kind of thing, the kids would not be concerned because they would know that all their peers,
nobody else is on Snapchat,
they're not missing anything while they're at school. So that's one of my lessons is I feel bad for parents because as parents it's pretty difficult to fight against the trend that's going on, which is a lot of kids are on their devices not just during waking hours, but during hours when they're supposed to be sleeping. So I really think that if you can talk to your kids and talk to them about how it feels to be unplugged, and as a family, and I know you've talked about this before, just whether it's half a day on the weekend, certain evenings of the week that are unplugged, but all of you, parents too. Right, yeah.
It's funny, our daughter, she did a month at camp this summer. This is her last week, but you know, she's 12 and actually really does a lot of way too much screen time and social media time. You know, and you would call it an addiction. And a few months, or about a month before camp, she started saying, I don't know if I want to do a whole month. You know, maybe I'll just do the 2 weeks like I usually do. And in the back of my head, I'm going, you know, literally just for the phone addiction aspect of it, I knew she needed a month up here. Right. And so I was like, nope, you know, you agreed, we had to do a month, and we're going to stick to that agreement. I didn't say why. I didn't bring anything up at the phone, and but all my friends are going to do this and that. Right. And sure enough, this is week 4 of being unplugged, but it's massively important. We could go on for hours on just that, but just physically, the energy of the screen coming into the eyes is not good for them. Right. When you're on your phone, you generally it's information going in, right? You don't get to sit and just be quiet and be bored and reflect and allow stuff to come out of your head, and I think that's important. And we, since we started coming to camp with my kids and myself, we do specific unplugged times, and we'll do a whole weekend. When I really see the kids are just on it all the time, I announce, hey, by the way, this Friday afternoon, everybody's playing, and we do an entire weekend of no technology, no TV. And I'll never forget my son, the first time we did this, he lay on the couch for the first 2 hours moaning. What am I going to do? I'm going to be so bored. And I actually took a picture of it and put a little caption.
Yes.
And then of course he said, hey, I thought we're not supposed to be on our phones. I used my phone to take a picture of it. But lo and behold, later that day, we go off to the park and we're throwing the Frisbee. And he was in his teens and had never really thrown a Frisbee that much. Right. And we actually ended up the whole weekend going to the park over and over and doing more. He was and since then, we still like to do that. Yeah, let's go to the park, throw the Frisbee, a bunch of running. But I think doing that, taking some time now daily, we do some unplugged times. Car rides are unplugged, and I think literally the car ride is probably one of your best chances with your kids, especially teens, of meaningful conversation.
Absolutely.
It can be completely tuned out. They're in their own world, or it can be them having conversations with you, looking, passing stuff, whether it's a homeless guy on, pulling his stuff around, talking about that, or sometimes I'll often bring up, I don't remember how, I think it was when Britney Spears' sister got pregnant, right? Oh,
yeah, she was like 16, Jamie Lynn. I remember that, too. The mom was writing a parenting book at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it didn't ever come out.
So I brought that up with my then, I don't remember, you'd have to do the math, what time my now 24-year-old was. She was in early high school or late junior high, and I was like, can you believe so-and-so got pregnant? Could you imagine how that would change your life if you got pregnant? And I know parents don't like to talk to their kids about sex and everything, but I use that as the icebreaker.
Right, great.
And suddenly the subject has been broken, and boom, chat. Yeah. If she had been on her phone, that would have never happened. And so we use car rides, meal times, just phones get put in a stack away, so there's no under the table looking at them and stuff. And
that's good.
And then bedtime, and we've actually used those are the times we know there's going to be no phones, and we've allowed her to kind of self-regulate the rest. She doesn't do a very good job a lot of the times, and we're probably going to actually install the Disney Circle app. But we've tried other apps that she just felt like it was too controlling, but yet sometimes they have to be. But just knowing, I think when I see her on her phone all day, I get anxious inside, but knowing mealtime and the car ride time is going to be meaningful non-phone time, I've been able to completely relax about all the other times. So
I do think it's an important thing that parents and even adults are having trouble regulating on screen use. We can't expect our kids to learn how to navigate this stuff without some assistance from us. So the unplug thing, I think that's one of the most amazing things about camp, and because it's such an extended time, kids really can tell the difference, how they feel. They also talk about how their relationships they feel are so much stronger up here because they've had a lot more time to you have to navigate uncomfortable social situations when you don't have your phone to look down on. It was really, kids were telling me that. I was like, what, that's so true. Like, even adults, like if you're in a place and you're bored or you don't really want to interact with people, your go-to thing is just to pull out your phone and you can just make yourself look busy rather than standing there. And it's so, just last week I was in a nail place waiting to get a pedicure, and this elderly woman sat down and started chatting with me, and we had the nicest conversation. And I was just thinking about how that just doesn't happen as much anymore. People are all just kind of on their thing. So anyway, that's another really great thing about camp.
Yeah. Do we need to keep talking? Or are we?
Oh my gosh, we're at like 37 minutes already.
Wow.
So.
Okay. I think I like these that we've talked about specific ways to bring camp home, and I'll probably listen to this and write a little blog to kind of have a written outline, show notes. But thanks, Sunshine.
Sure, it's been so much fun chatting with you.
Cool, and we will talk soon.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for joining Dr. Jim Sears and me for this episode of the podcast. I really enjoyed chatting with him about things that we both care about a lot. For notes about what we discussed and links to other relevant posts and information, visit my website at sunshine-parenting.com and search for episode 54. If you're a new listener, welcome and thank you for joining me here. I'd love to send you my weekly email newsletter where I include links to my most recent podcast episode, any new blog posts that I have, as well as articles, books, and links to just other new and relevant parenting information out there in the world. So I hope you'll join my community. I'm really enjoying connecting with so many of you, and I appreciate your time listening to the podcast. I'd love to get any feedback that you have. You can send me an email. My email address is audrey@sunshine-parenting.com, and there's a link on my website as well. I'm going to leave you with part of a post that I wrote several years ago because it's something that Dr. Jim and I discussed. The post is called Catch Them Doing the Right Thing. This is how it goes. I've often thought it would be great if all parents could go through the kind of training and orientation we provide our camp counselors before they start working with kids during the summer. I've heard many times from past counselors that they learned a lot of their parenting techniques from working at camp. Often, as parents, we spend a lot of time focused on what we don't want our children to be doing instead of on what we do want them to be doing. At camp, we train our counselors in positive behavior management techniques. One of those concepts is catch them doing something right. Instead of looking for what a camper is doing incorrectly, we focus immediately on what they are doing well. When kids realize that we will notice the good stuff they do, they are encouraged to do more of the desired good behaviors. A side benefit is that other campers see that we notice good behavior and are encouraged to do the same so that they too will get positive attention. If most of the cabin group is doing something incorrectly, we compliment and point out the kids who are doing what we like rather than nagging the rest of them. So instead of, stop messing around and get your shoes on for breakfast, we say, hey, great job getting your shoes on the first time I asked, Joe and Sam. Everyone else hears our compliment and are encouraged to get moving and perhaps listen the first time we ask next time.
This podcast is a proud member of Parents on Demand, a network of high-quality shows for families just like yours. Download our free network app on Apple and Android and listen to your favorite episodes on the go.